Hi everyone, my name is Joris Peels, and this is another edition of 3D Printing News Unpeeled, brought to you by 3dprint.com. So, what we're going to be learning about today is, Adare Pharma Solutions, which is CDMOs or contract development manufacturing organization, like a drug manufacturer essentially, that usually works for other drug companies or other kind of institutions, things to make drugs for them, pills, or other kind of drugs indeed, has partnered with Laxon Medical. And what they're going to do is they're going to use the CGMP manufacturing skills at Adare in Milan to create new oral dosage forms and new pills using screen printed innovative drug or SPID technology. Now, SPID is a technology that is developed by kind of a company called Exentis. And Exentis is a company that they've been around for a while and been trying to commercialize this technology that shows a lot of promise, is really exciting, but it's taken a really long time for them to try to commercialize it. So they for the most promising applications, I think licensed it to Laxon, and Laxon has been trying to commercialize it. What it essentially is it's kind of a carousel. It's actually in one part, it's probably the most obvious 3D printing technology ever, really. So it's kind of like a screen printing technology on a carousel. So it takes a screen printed layer, screen prints it, puts it on a carousel, takes it around, and then collects it with other layers, building up layer by layer. So it's kind of like a LOM jetting printing type of hybrid technology. And it's one of the ones where you think about it, like, wow, that is actually super obvious and could be like completely amazing. Like if you think about the resolution you get from screen printing, the low cost, and the way you can make this machine really, really very, very big and print lots of these things at the same time. It's kind of interesting. But anyways, this is one of the first customers for this technology. What they hope to do with it is to work on the release kinetics. They want to put multiple additive or active ingredients together. They want to work on ease of swallowing. So making a pill maybe smaller, thinner, whatever, easier to pass through your throat. They want to work on taste masking and multi-compartment, which I think specifically for SPID, the screen printing, I think the multi-compartment stuff. So having kind of a poly pill with multiple compartments inside the pill could be a really the really advantages of technology. And that multi-compartment you could do, for example, you could have a pill that will dissolve only after 4 hours when it's in the small intestine, whatever. Then one pill, one active ingredient will be released then, and one active ingredient will be released 2 hours later when it's in another part of the intestine. That kind of thing. You can think about. You could use multiple ingredients at multiple stages or times in the body or events in the body, and that could really be a exciting way to improve drug delivery, especially things like in the intestinal system, the digestive system, or in the bloodstream generally. A lot of things can be used by this strategy of putting multiple APIs, multiple active pharmaceutical ingredients in the same pill in different compartments or in different types of areas or behind different walls or different things with holes in them. So that's really cool. It's a good news to the screen printing stuff as well as a good news for 3D printing pills, which we've seen an uptake in lately. It was kind of quiet, but now Kraft Health got some money, is making progress. Fabrics is opening some offices in Spain and the US, and it's really moving for the first time. So I think it's really great because there is a ton of potential, like in the way we think of 3D printing pills, like somebody weighs more than the other person, that person will have a more ingredient, but also like I might be sicker than you and I'll have more ingredient on a Monday and less on a Tuesday. But also just like engineering pill, making an aspirin that you swallow quicker, that works quicker, or that is better for you if you are dehydrated, whatever, right? That kind of stuff I think has a huge potential. Now, another thing that has huge potential is this little thing here, which is, this is a process innovation. And what we said before is that 3D printing, a lot of 3D printing, when it works or fails in large organizations, is due to change management. It's due to being able to get everybody on board, or the right people on board, to implement this change well. And often the problem with 3D printing is that we're trying to bring a new thing to your organization, but the manufacturing person that's in charge of that factory is not going to benefit from this personally. He's not going to benefit from this apart from getting a lot of sleepless nights over implementing this new technology. But it kind of works the other way around. We've seen this as well, and where 3D printing can usher in a change in systems and programs and ways of doing things that kind of have, a little bit to do with the technology, but a lot of just what the potential of technology has to change organizations. So this is the United States Marine Corps working together with the Naval Air Systems Command. They're doing a ton of work on 3D printing. They have the AM integrated product team, IPT, and they're doing something called a suitable substitute engineering change proposal. Now, this is a very kind of marine speak, naval speak type of thing, but what basically they've done is they've taken a Bell UH-1Y part, right? The Bell helicopter is probably what you think of if you're thinking of helicopter, right? It's ancient, right? It's been along for a ton of places, big, lots of numbers on the civilian version, lots of numbers. So I thought it was kind of out of, not as popular anymore. But hey, there's still some of these things. This is a real workhorse. It's been around for decades. And what they've done is they've made a rescue hoist chain. So it's not or cover, sorry. So the rescue hoist, an important part of that helicopter, obviously, and then there's a cover for it, and that is the suitable substitute engineering change proposal part. Now, what is the point now is that they've got a section now of 20 people. 9 of them are modeling and design, so CAD people, and they're looking at non-critical parts in the inventory, which are open to small production runs, which have long lead times normally, and they want to implement them. So far, it's a lot like what a lot of companies are doing with additive, and they're trying to do this. But I like the idea of forming this team, the cross-disciplinary team that'll kind of handle these things, right? Now, what the other thing is not only that the lead time of the product was cheaper, but here what they're doing is they reverse engineer this product because it's out of spec or it's not available anymore. The producer went bankrupt or something like that. So they reverse engineer it, 3D scanning, CAD, whatever. Then they do test prints. Then they do something called a technical data package, which if you ever corner a Marine or one of these Naviair guys, they're all about this, and this is like their whole raison d'etre, these technical data packages. And then they take this technical data package that's supposed to include all the relevant variables, and then they take it into a class 1 suitable substitute ECP thing. Then it goes into a change management software for approval. Now, that in and of itself sounds like a convoluted process. That is the accelerated process we're dealing with now. That's a super fast process. So what they've done is in 10 days, they managed to make this part, make this approval procedure, and they've done it for $1,700, right? Normally, this ECP process costs $300,000. So what we're seeing is within the Navy, because of course, what are you doing if you want a new part of the Navy? You want a part for a ship or a missile or something. You want to be careful with that stuff, right? You want to make sure that you're putting the right material in it, the right settings, the right whatever, right? The right treatments, the right paint, all this kind of stuff. So they made this process as clunky, but they don't mind, right? Because you don't want someone to goof on buying a missile or something. But now they have this universe of parts that are like thousands. Well, no, actually, for them, it's hundreds of thousands of parts that aren't that important. It's not the hoist of the helicopter. It's not that one kind of bolt, not kind of thing that holds the blades of the helicopter to the helicopter, right? It's not those parts. It's a cover for this hoist. And for those parts, they just don't have a process in place that can do this cost effectively. And now they do this for $1,700, which will mean that every time this hoist thing breaks, it's much cheaper even to do this. So where this is an example, not of just 3D printing the part, but of 3D printing ushering a process innovation, that means we don't have to, every time we need a new spare part, pay 300 grand to this process, but instead it's 17K. So this is a really weird thing. We never talk about this, but I've encountered it time and time again, where kind of 3D printing is kind of the sledgehammer to force through a new process that you normally wouldn't be able to do. So this is not even about this part that seems to be made in FDM. It's about the change management. It's about the process innovation. It's not the printer. It's the stuff around it that you can do with this. So I think this is really absolutely wonderful. And the third thing, this is also wonderful. There's a bunch of researchers, Zeruma, Yao Zhao, Zhe Zhu, Yao Zhang. Apologies for mispronouncing names in advance. They are from the Department of Bone and Joint Surgery Orthopedic Center at the First Hospital of Jilin University, and they've come up with something really, really cool. They have a paper which is in Nature, so they must be really chuffed with that because that's pretty awesome. And it's called 3D printed porous titanium rods equipped with vancomycin loaded hydrogels and polycaprolactam membranes for intelligent antibacterial drug release. Now, what these guys have done is really great. Now, we all know about these porous implants. There's whole families of them exploding all over the place, and there's hundreds of thousands, probably millions soon being printed of these things. And the idea, of course, is it's porous, and the porosity means we can do osseointegration and all sorts of other cool things. Now, that also means you've got this bioactive kind of integration with the body, and a lot of bad things can happen there too. And a lot of bad things have happened with implants in the past, with bacteria and biofilms and all sorts of things forming onto that onto that implant, right? And one of the biggest areas that if that are being researched right now is to get rid of biofilms to protect these implants in a certain way. What these guys have come up with is something that is a nice way to maybe protect all these 3D printed implants. So what they've done is they put on the implant itself, they put hydrogels with a this antibacterial material in it. So the hydrogel contains the antibacterial material, the antibiotic, and on top of that, they've got a PCL film. Now, PCL, polycaprolactone, my favorite material, super safe material, great properties, really wonderful. Now, the idea is initially the PCL will be in the body and it will inhibit this biofilm kind of formation. Now, the PCL, which is also used for bioabsorbable implants, all sorts of other stuff, is going to degrade, right? Now, sometimes it takes a month, or sometimes it takes weeks or several months, depending on the situation and also the PCL you use and all this kind of stuff. But it'll degrade, and once it degrades, it'll then release out the antibacterium or the medicine, let's say, will come loose at the right time. So the results so far are really really positive. They want to move towards a clinical stage, and they successfully demonstrated that PCL stops the biofilm, and also that the antibiotic release later is also really effective, or as effective as far as they can tell. So this is wonderful because think about how this can lead to tunable type implants with changing the structure of this PCL to make it degrade faster or slower or at a certain time really very specifically. Think about like engineering the shape of this thing to engineer the drug release in a certain different way, or 3D printing some structures in the hydrogel to have a delayed release of more hydrogel afterwards, like a PCL hydrogel, then more PCL, and then more hydrogel. That kind of stuff I think is wonderful. I think this may be a 3D printed solution in part to a lot of this biofilm implant kind of contamination stuff we're seeing. So absolutely wonderful stuff. So my name is Joris Peels. This is another edition of 3D Printing News Unpeeled, brought to you by 3dprint.com. I hope you found this very useful.